All right, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Jay. I have another special guest in the building. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Okay, so my name is Felice Schlessinger.
All right, Felice, where are you from?
I'm actually from the north suburbs.
Okay.
But I've lived in the city more than I've lived in the suburbs. So north side, Chicago, north side.
All right, so you was majority of the specialness that comes from you came from the north side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cubs fan.
Oh man.
Come on.
What was it like growing up on the north side?
I loved growing up on the north side. Actually, which is crazy is that like I grew up in the north suburbs first, but I had a boyfriend that lived in Chicago. And I dated this boy from 14 till I was 21. Don't ask. And so he lived in Chicago. So I always knew I wanted to live in the city. So when I got old enough, I was like, I'm out of here.
Right. What high school did you go to?
Stevenson High School.
Okay. When you was in high school, like what was something that you wanted to be?
I always wanted to do something at night. I don't know what it was, but I'm a night owl,
Right.
Aquarius girl. So like I always wanted to do something at night. I don't know if I even remembered what I went to fashion design school too. So I always thought that I wanted to do something in that, and I do have a degree in fashion merchandising, but I didn't really do anything with it. I owned a salon up in the north suburbs, so I did that for a while, and then I sold it, and then I stayed living downtown. And the drive sucks, so I was over that. After 6 years of that back and forth, I was over it.
Did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, always. My dad is, so yeah.
Okay, so you was raised with that already. You saw it every day.
Every day.
What did your dad do?
So my dad owned a commercial collection agency. So he was collection agency, but it's business to business. It wasn't like you owe somebody money. It was like Heinz ketchup owing real mayonnaise or whatever. You know what I mean? So from that office, it went all the way to 17 companies, all the way to international. So he was actually, if you Google my dad, Les Kirschbaum, if you Google him, he was actually the first ever international collection agency. He started that.
Okay, so your daddy one of them dudes then.
Yeah.
So as he was running this business, a lot of entrepreneur parents be like, well, you going to come work for me. So did that happen with you?
Yeah, I did work there for a little bit. Like I worked in the mailroom. I hated it. That's all that, in high school, he'd be like, get in the mailroom, and you'd like open the mail and do all that, open the mail, make sure it goes to each person that's supposed to be in his company or whatever. But I didn't want to get into that. My brothers both worked there. Well, my one brother used to always work there, and then he left, and he's doing he's doing medical collection. But my other brother, Danny, he still works there. He works for my dad.
Okay.
So my dad, actually what happened was my dad actually took all 17 companies and he sold them. And then he had to sign a 5-year non-compete. So he signed a 5-year non-compete, drove us crazy for 5 years. We're like, Dad, go back to work, man. Like, go back. You can't live in East Bank Club. Like, you need to go back to work. Like, no, Dad, I'm at work. I can't go to lunch with you. Like, bye.
Right.
Like, somebody get him back to work. And so he wound up going back, and he started another company. And basically, it's the same thing. It's collection, but this time it's with lawyers.
Okay.
So it's like I don't really understand it, to be honest, but it's in the Sears Tower somewhere, or Willis Tower, wherever it's called now. And my brother works there. So my one brother, I have a bunch. But yeah.
What would you say was like the biggest lesson that teenage you learned, you know what I'm saying, starting out in the mailroom and just watching your dad like grow a major company, because it wasn't no little ass company.
Yeah, no, this is huge. It's huge. I would say the biggest thing I ever learned, like the biggest thing my dad preached a lot was basically finish what you start. Like, I don't care if you never do it again, but you're going to finish what you start. Like, if you're going to take ice skating lessons, you're going to take them until they're done. And if you want to continue, great, but you're not going to quit midway. So I'm not a quitter. So I think that's very much embedded in my head. I don't quit.
All right, now you say you owned your own salon.
Yeah.
Like, what made you want to do that?
So when I was in high school, I had gotten into a horrible car accident, and I was hit head on. And I took that money, and I opened up my own salon by the time I was 21. So I went to fashion design school, I finished that, right? And now I was like, I really wanted to open my own salon and have like clothes and stuff like that. Besides it being a salon, it was nails and hair and makeup and like all kinds of stuff, and it was up in Lake Zurich. And I opened that up. I was 21 years old, and I kicked it off, and I owned that for 6 years. And like I said, I got just sick of driving back and forth. And so one of the girls, who's one of my best friends, shout out to my girl, Regina Porter, she was like, I'm like, I really am tired. I like came into the back room one day and I'm like, I'm so sick of this drive. I wish one of you guys would buy me out because my 6-year lease was coming up. And so she looked at me, she's like, I'm going to do it. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. So that's what happened. She lived across the street. Top of that, you know? So she wound up taking over my business. I actually stayed for a year. I worked one day a week there for a year and drove back and forth just that one day a year, just like, and to help her and what have you. And yeah, that was that. But yeah, I always wanted my own something. I just didn't know like exactly what. And so because I knew how to do all that stuff, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
So after you sell your part of the business, what next?
So after I sold my business, then I wound up working at a salon downtown off of Michigan Avenue. So I worked at that salon downtown off of Michigan Avenue for a while, and then got married, got pregnant, and quit. And then I was a mom of a colic baby. Ugh. Yeah.
All right.
So I did nothing.
How long did you focus on motherhood before you was
So I was a stay-at-home mom until she was 11. So she was 11, and then at 11 is when Corey Ether made me do radio.
Okay, so what is that conversation like?
Oh, dude. Well, shout out to everybody here at Illinois Radio because that's where the conversation was.
Okay.
So I was a manager. I take it back a little bit. I'll go back a little bit. So right before that, I was also the president of the Board of Stand Up for Kids Chicago, which is a drop-in center for at-risk and homeless kids. Okay, so I've always been doing that. I'm still there. But even before that, I was at a shelter. So I kind of like jumping on this story a little bit. But anyway, I was at an emergency shelter. From the emergency shelter, I went to Stand Up for Kids, became the president of the board. From that, there was a kid there that was just like, coming out of everything, and he, you age out at 25. And he was an artist, and he was amazing. And he was like, I need somebody to be my manager. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. He's like, can you do this? Book me for them. Yeah. And he's just naming things off. Yeah. Okay, you can be my manager. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I'm not a quitter. I'm like, let's go. So I wound up being his manager. Still am. He's on break. And so from that, he had a radio show. He had a radio interview at Ether on the Speaker up in Lisle. And so, I'm being the manager, I'm filming him, he's doing his little interview, what have you. And so now we're going to go to Illinois Radio's 1-year anniversary. So shout out everybody here. And so we're at Illinois Radio's 1-year anniversary, and I'm sitting with my friends. He's back there chatting up with Corey. And so I get a text from Corey there. And he's like, you really need to be a radio show personality. And I'm looking at this text, and I'm like, this dude's here. I'm like, look back. I'm like, why are you texting me? And he's like, and so he walks over, and he's like, well, you're with your friends. I don't want to bother you. I'm like, you want me to do what? And he's like, Felice, you're ridiculous. He's like, you're so funny. He's like, you need to do radio. I'm like, I don't even know anything about radio. I don't even, I own a radio. It sits on my counter for my dogs when I leave, but I don't, know anything. That's all I got.
Right.
And he was like, no, you really need to. And I'm like, no, hell no. So we get in the car, and I'm telling everybody, and I'm telling my artists, and so he's in the back seat, and he's bashing on my back of the chair, and he's like, you got to do it, you got to do it. And I'm like, why? I'm driving. Why? He's like, because it's going to take me to another level. Oh, this is about you. Oh, I understand. This is about you.
You got it.
So if I do radio, it's going to take you to another level? Oh, I understand. Oh, okay. No, I'm not doing it. What are you, nuts? So now I'm like, the weekend's going, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, that'd be kind of fun, though. But what do I have to do? I have questions in my head because I'm a nonstop thinker. My brain really doesn't ever stop working. Even when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up and think of it. So, it never stops. So, all right, let me call Corey. So, call Corey. I'm on this phone with this man for, I don't know, 2 or 3. No, before that. Back it up a little. Before that. I get home. This is the part that I didn't remember. That shout out to DJ MH Cheddar. That has to remind me of this part of the story. But apparently I got home at 2 in the morning, whatever it was, and I text him. I'm like, you're not going to believe what this fool wants me to do. He wants me to do radio. He's like, you should do comedy. You should be on stand-up. What do you mean? And I'm like, I'm not going to be no stand-up comedian. So he's like, no, you should do it. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm calling Corey Monday morning. I'm calling Corey. I'm on the phone with him for 2 hours. He's trying to convince me of this. And so I'm like, well, he's like, it's going to be on FM radio. I can't curse. It's $500 a curse word. Are you out of your mind? I am every other word. I'm going to be at $3,000, but in 12 minutes.
Right.
He's like, you could do it, but I'm like, can I have a co-host? He's like, you could do whatever you want. I'm going to give you a 2-hour show, 1 day a week, from Wednesdays from 8 to 10. You could do whatever you want. You could talk about whatever you want. You could play music. I don't care what you do. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a co-host. Okay. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to think of something to get a co-host, and if that works out, I'm on it. So now I'm thinking, now who's going to be like as funny as me, right? Like, who's as funny as me? Stacy. Well, Stacy's as funny as me. Let me call Stacy. So I call up Stacy. Stacy also was volunteering at Center for Kids. She also, at the time, was working for DCFS. I call her up, and I'm like, I pitched her this idea. She's like, hold up. You mean to tell me that I could be the next Wendy Williams? I'm like, yes. She's like, yeah, come on, we're doing it.
She
like,
saw it from the jump.
Yeah, she was like, oh, yeah, girl, we're doing it. Well, now she thinks she's Joan Rivers. But that's a whole new story. But anyway, so she's just like, yeah, we're doing it. And I'm like, okay. So I called Corey back. I'm telling him that we're going to do it. Now he's coming over to my house. We're sitting there. And he's like telling me all the stuff, whatever. And I'm like, all right, now we're going to do the first show. Okay, so the first show is like November 10th, 2018. Okay, so it's we're going to go to 5 years. And so I'm at Michael House's wife's birthday party at Renaissance. Things I remember is ridiculous. And he came up to me and he's like, I got to tell you something. I'm like, what? He goes, me and Wild, we're going to do your first show. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God. So they're like, we're going to come on your first show. We're going to do the first show. I'm like, oh my God. So these are my guests, right? It's Wild and MH. So, and at that time, too, MH was my DJ for my show, right? So he would send me like a 20-minute mix to kick off my show, that kind of thing, because we didn't have a DJ in there or a booth or anything like that. So he's like, I'll play you a mix, and you could play it and get your people ready, take the pictures. You could play the mix, sit down, like, and then you can go back and like, okay, cool.
What year was this?
2018.
Okay, 2018.
November 10th, 20. So we're coming up to our 5 year. So MH is like, I'll make you a mix. I'm like, awesome. So he makes the mix. He's at the time, him and Wild were still, I believe, still on Urban Grind. I'm pretty sure they were still on Urban Grind. And so they come on on our show. Now we can't curse. Stacy and I are sweating. We're sweating, right? It's the first show where just don't talk. Just don't talk. Just let them do. They did the whole show.
Yeah,
I swear to God. I think Stacy and I said 4 words. Wild just took up the whole damn thing. Like, go ahead, just do it. Like, they're asking us questions. Like, it worked out so perfectly. Like, I could not, like, I keep them attached right to my leg to this day because, like, those are my people. You know what I mean? Like, they had my back hard as hell. So that was our first show. And so from that, we were doing the show every single Wednesday from 8 to 10, still are, from 8 to 10 in Lisle. And then what happened was that, about almost 2 years later, the station was the girl that owned the station in Lisle was moving to Houston. And so she was supposed to sell it to another radio station that was a sister station, and they wound up backing out at the very last minute. But at that time, I already got a call from E.J. Beats, and he was like, listen, because his artist was on my show. He's like, I want to start the Orchestration Radio Show back up. He's like, I really would love for you to be the host. I'll do it here at the studio. I have a backdrop, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, are you going to pay me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm in. So now that's Tuesday nights. So that started. So now 2 years in, now I'm starting a second show on Tuesday nights from 8 to 10.
And you're getting paid for it.
And I'm getting paid for it. So now the station's going to close. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, I'm just getting ready to I didn't start it yet. I'm just getting ready to start the other show. I'm like, I'm just going to have to move this show, to his studio. So I call him crying. Felice, it's going to be fine. You can bring the show here. Are you sure? It'll be fine, Felice. Stop crying. It'll be fine. Okay. Are you sure? Yes. I'm like in panic mode, right? Because I'm finding this out a couple days before my next show I already have guests for. Like, how are you now telling? First of all, I didn't even find out from the owner, so shout out to MH because I didn't even find out from the owner. It was a whole thing.
Right.
So anyway, besides that. So I wind up moving Determined Radio to E.J. Beats' recording studio, and so now that show is going to be 3 years old in December. Determined Radio is 5 years old in November. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right. 2 shows.
2 shows. Getting ready for...
We're gonna combine it. We're gonna combine it 5 years, Yeah. Like what were some of the growing pains that you had to get over? Because you had no background and you just jumped in there.
Dude, I knew nothing, exactly. Growing pains were just like basically like artists not showing up and what are we gonna do? Like, all right, what are we gonna do for an hour? Like things like that. Like, they're coming, they don't show up and things like that. We got that nipped in the butt. I would say I think that is probably my worst or like a really boring. Have you ever had like the most boringest interview? I don't know what to do with people I don't know what to do with these people. I just don't. I just talk to Stacey. I don't know what to do. Stacey usually handles it or we'll play music or what have you. We kind of changed our show a little bit too as far as like, like just changing up how we do our show, like the layout and that kind of thing. Like it's very simple layout, but basically we always have the art. Now that we've moved into an even bigger space, they can actually perform their songs during the actual interview. They love that. They could smoke during the interview. They love that. You know, anything to make like all those things. But it's that I would be just like good growing pains. Not really anything bad that's happened except for the fact of like boring interviews and like them not showing up, you know, that kind of thing. I just had a big, huge guest not show up, like huge guest not show up. Literally should have been there 15 minutes and got into a car accident and, you know, couldn't make it. And now I'm like, that's the only artist I booked for those 2 hours because it was a huge artist. And now I'm like, all right, so Joel, you're just going to play music for the next 2 hours? Next hour and a half? Great. And that was the show. Like, we couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So you have those issues, but those come with what, you know, we don't even like flinch at that stuff anymore.
What will be some of those most memorable moments, you know what I'm saying, that you can highlight over those years?
I think the most memorable moments are basically like when we get that artist gives love back. Like I love when I take, you know, we take pictures of the artists, we video them and all that kind of stuff. And so all of a sudden I'll see like that artist is now profile pictures my backdrop. I'm like, yes, like that is that I love. Or they put their whole interview on YouTube. I'm gonna get on YouTube. I've been saying that for years, but I'm gonna do it. That's my goal this year. So like when they hit us up or they send us a note or like any of that kind of stuff, like all those good things. Like we've done a lot of stuff.
All right, what do you think they saw in you that was like, she can do this?
Like Corey, as far as like, what did Corey think?
First just being a manager and then saying, hey, you could be a radio host. Like, what do you think they saw in you?
I'm nuts. I mean, let's call it what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm just a very like motivated person. I'm an extremely professional person. I don't like unprofessional anything. It makes me like my show better start at 8:00. Like not 8:01, not something 8:00. Like I got fans waiting. I have people that are in that chat. Like, where's the show? It was 8:05. Like where you at? Like, not kidding. People get like nuts. But yeah, I think because I'm nuts. Yeah, that's probably what it is. I'm funny.
Explain that feeling of, like you say, having fans.
That's so cool. It's so great because, and also besides all of that, I've always done shows with. I started doing showcase shows with BMW Entertainment. So shout out to my guy Eddie August. We started doing shows together, and I just like he basically gets the venue and gets the DJ and what have you, and I'm getting artists because he knows that people will do it because I'm asking them. And I'm not a bullshitter, you know what I mean? I'm not one of those janky promoters because you know how much I love that word. Yeah, I'm not a promoter. I'm an event planner. Shout out MH. That's what we changed it to, event planner. I'm an event planner, by the way.
Facts.
Anyway, so we were doing shows all over the city. Even during COVID, we were doing shows up in Gary because they were open. I've headlined a bazillion people. From Sasha to Beads to Spenzo to everybody. El Hida. And so I also now in the most recent is that I have connected with ID the G from 23 Entertainment, and we started doing shows at the Wild Hare the first Wednesdays of the month. We're on show number 5, maybe 5 coming up November. So it's the first Wednesday of the month. And we could do whatever we want. From 6 o'clock, doors open at the Wild Hare until they kick us out at midnight. So we could do whatever we want. So we've done a bunch of stuff. We've headlined John and Dimitri. We've headlined I can't say The Collective, which is so white, I know, but I can't say it. Which is Cash Go Crazy, Trouble the Singer, and Trosh. So those 3, we've headlined them. We had our own, ID did his 6-year anniversary party. We've done just a regular showcase party. We are going to do Determined Radio's 5-year anniversary party, November 1st. I'm doing a open mic. Best performance receives $100 and an interview on Determined Radio with some special performances. And I'm not saying who the special performances are because I'm good. I already have hate happening now. So I decided, like, I said to ID, I'm like, and Taco, technically, that's my guy. And I'm like, what am I going to do for my, like, I can't pick 15 people and do like that's not going to happen. Because if I do that, do you know what the hate's going to be? Why aren't I a special performer? Please let me do it. It's already happening now. So I'm like, I'm just going to make it an open mic. That way nobody can get mad at me. You can sign up. It starts at 7 o'clock. It's one song. Come and perform. I have EJL beats on the ones and twos. I'm like, you can win $100, and then I'm going to have a few special performers, and I'm not telling who it is, but if those people want to go ahead and, you know, I told them all. I told the 5 of them, like, if you guys want to promote that you're the special performer, go ahead, but I'm not doing it because I'm not promoting it. I'm not promoting the special performers because I love you all, but I'm not doing it.
How do you balance
It's
everything you have going on? When do you rest? And you also have a kid.
I have one kid. Well, she's 17. She's self-sufficient. And I'm divorced, and she's 50% at her dad. So shout out to her dad. I have the best ex, like, I can't tell you, like, the best ex. I can never, there's not a word bad I could say. He's amazing. He's an amazing dad. Like, I got nothing to say.
How do you balance it all, though?
I don't know. I think I just do. I just do. I don't know. I have a lot, clearly, I have a lot of energy. Clearly, I'm going to use my hands for everything. Shout out Michael Huss. I'm like, I'm going to sit on my hands today, but it's not working. Anyway, I have a lot of energy. I don't know. I don't know.
So everything that you name, that's strictly what you do. That's how you pay your bills.
Yeah.
And
shout out to my ex for child support and alimony. So there's that.
Man, what advice would you give to anybody first looking to be a manager of an artist? Because I don't know what it takes to manage 2 people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I got 3.
And then 3. Yeah. I don't know what it takes to manage 3 people. Yeah. And also, you know, having your own radio station, that's just a lie by itself.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like, shout out to Love Child, which is AKA Willie Neal. He's amazing. Like, he's self-sufficient. They're self-sufficient. You know what I mean? Like, they're self-sufficient. You know, he's really good about, like, I just yell at him. Like, that's all I really do to him is I yell at him and make him do shows and things like that, you know. But he's really good about getting he's also an Aquarius, as we all know. And so he is very much a perfectionist like I am, so it works really well. You know what I mean? EJL Beats I also manage, and it's his studio, and he does the whole show. I just walk in and sit down. Like, I don't do anything. I don't. He does the whole show. He literally produces the whole show. I walk in, he DJs. The guests come, I'm taking pictures. He DJs again. The guest's going to perform during the interview. He does it again. Like, I don't do nothing. I just walk in, sit down. That's it. Like, shout out to him because he does it all.
All right, earlier in the interview, you spoke on stand up for kids in Chicago.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
So that started before even stand up for kids, first of all, I've always fed everybody under a viaduct. Like, I can see, like, my kid's in the car seat and she's just bored. I'm still under a viaduct, you know what I mean? Feeding somebody. That's just how I am. But so from that, I saw somebody post on Facebook, like, about this place that needed clothes and it was like the winter that was like crazy freezing. I don't remember, it was like 10 years ago. And so I was like, I have all that stuff. I'm going to go. Where is it? It's down the street from my house? I didn't even know that. You know what I mean? It was this basement of this church, and it was the Night Ministries Emergency Shelter. So I'm like, pack up all this stuff. I throw my kid in the car, and we go over there, and it's the basement of the church, and she's holding something. I don't remember what. She was like 2 or something. And so we get to the door downstairs, and this girl walks in, opens the door, and she grateful that we were bringing her all this stuff. And I'm like, what is this place? And then she told me what it was, and I was like, wait a minute, this is like an emergency. Like, you guys are getting fed here, and people can sleep here overnight, and that kind of thing. And she's like, yeah, we always need volunteers. I'm like, you do? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm in it. I'm like, what do I got to do? She's like, just call the Night Ministry. You can get on their training thing. They'll train you. I'm trained on Narcan. Like, I could, if you're tweaking, I could stab you in the leg with a needle. I got you. You're going to be alive. I got you. You're turning blue? No problem. And so I got trained through the Night Ministry to be a volunteer to go there and, like, help these kids, right? And I'm helping them sleep, putting mats out, and they're sleeping, and we're feeding them. We have, like, a big soup kitchen, and we get donation from food and things like that. You're helping them get ready for bed. You're hanging out with them. You're, like, playing with them, like, whatever. And these aren't really kids. These kids are, like, 14 to 20. You age out at 25. So any of that age group from 14 to 25. So then you got them fighting. I've pulled people off each other. I've been in a fight. Like, I mean, it's all gone down. So I was there, and then that didn't actually start until 8:45 at night. Like, it didn't open until 8:45. So you wouldn't start to volunteer till like 8, you get in there at 8:30. And I'd stay there till like, I don't know, they went to bed like 11, 12, something like that. So then they were telling me about this other place they would call the Purple People. I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's our drop-in center. I'm like, where? They're like, it's down the street. I'm like, well, what is it? It's a drop-in center. You can like, we go there first, and we hang out. And we get food. You can get food there, and there's a donation closet and things like that. I'm like, where is it? And so I went there. My friend knew the girl that owned it, that was running it at the time, who was the president at the time. And I was like, I want to go. So I go there. I'm like, they take volunteers there? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to go there. It starts at 5, and you're done by 9? Oh, yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go hang out. So I went over there. I'm learning. All my kids are walking in. They're like, what is happening? Like, they get so confused. They're like,
what you doing here?
No,
right.
There. Like, they just like, they like consistency, like of where the people, like, you know what I mean? The different places they would go to, they'd see there's certain people, you know, you get attached to these kids, like bad, real bad, you get attached. So I'm like, well, I like it better here. Then I could be done by 9. Right? So I wound up going there. And then from that, it's just the chain of stuff just would happen, and then I wound up being a board member, and from a board member, I would be the president. I was the president of the board, and now we have a new thing that we're changing positions so that we don't get bored, kind of thing. So it'll be like now Fred's the director, and I don't even know who the board is person right now. I think it's Kelly, and then now I'm doing the social media. Like, we just changed positions, and so that's where we're at right now. And it's still open. We're still open. We're open 2 nights a week now, because during COVID, we were giving stuff out at the door. So, like, I'm running around collecting donations from people. Like, I'd post on Facebook, anybody got either this, or that. Or one of my kids just got housing, and they're like, Felice, do you have any dishes? And I'm like, I don't know. Anybody got any dishes they want to get rid of? And I post on Facebook, and I run to their house and go grab dishes. Like, you know what I mean? I do that all the time. Just kind of, I don't really talk about it, though. You know what I mean? Like, I just do it because I know there's people out there that are like, shout out to Michael Earhart and everybody that's huge doing it, and they have to post it and explain, but I'm just kind of like, I don't need people that know all my stuff, you know?
Right now.
Yeah.
At some point, like you said, you become the president.
Yeah.
So when you become the president, I'm assuming that you can change things and move things around.
Yeah. Well, I would work with the director, so we would move things and change things around, yeah.
So what would you say were some of the important changes that you saw that needed to be changed and put that push forward?
We didn't really, I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really change anything. When I was president, I didn't really change anything, because we were like, basically, when we change things, it'd be as a group. So I think the only thing that we really have changed over these last like 7 years, it's been open like 7 years now, I think, 7 or 8 years, something like that. And so I think the only big thing that we did is that after the COVID situation, we changed things up. And so we used to be open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 5 to 9. And so we dropped Mondays. And now we're only open on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And on Wednesdays is still kind of like a drop-in center. Come in, hang out, get some food, watch TV, charge your phone kind of thing. Thursdays now are kind of like we got some computers that were donated. So we're kind of changing that format, and we're kind of having them have to sign up for it. And they can come in and learn computers, and we're going to add a little radio podcasting in there. So like we're still growing as far as like after COVID. Because during COVID, for those whole 2.5 years, we were just feeding them out the door, literally not even letting anybody in.
All right.
So now we're just kind of changing it up just now. But before COVID, it was just drop-in center, like it was the same concept. But now we're kind of changing it up.
I personally think from the ages of like 14 to 18, those are pivotal years. I think those are the years where you be like, man, where you understand, you start to learn about the world, and if it's a good world, if it's a cold world, how bad people can be, you know. So with you having a hands-on approach with these kids, like, how do you think that you've impacted their lives in a positive way?
I have a lot of successful stories. I have a lot of death. I have a lot of jail. I have a lot of all of that. So basically, you're like, these kids are at risk, okay, or they're homeless, literally on the street homeless, okay? They don't really like to be in those shelters because all things go sideways in shelters. So they rather sleep on the train. They rather sleep in a tent. They rather sleep anywhere that's not in a shelter, because I will say, and it's not all shelters, and I'm not, shout out to the ones that are decent, but they're not what people think they are. They have cages in some of these places. They're not what people think they are. They think, oh, I just go to a shelter. It's not what you think. You know what I mean? Like, it's too long to explain, but it's not what people think. They are safer on a train. They are safer at the beach. They are safer in other places. I know that sounds crazy. So it's just basically getting them off the street. You know what I mean? Getting them off the street, getting them in there. So at 25, the reason why it stops at 25 is because your brain stops growing at 25. Now you're an adult. So you're still considered a youth up until the age of 25, and then you start to age out. Now some of these kids, I've known since they were like 15, that are now, they're 24 and a half, and they're starting to panic. Oh, I can't come here anymore. I'm like, man, where have you been for 7 years?
Right.
Where have I been telling you for 7 years, right? I've been to jail. I put money on cards. I've been to court thousands of times advocating for these kids. Like, my kid, please can you come to court? The minute they see me in court, I was knowing the state's attorneys already. Like, it was crazy, the stuff that was crazy. They get a slap on the wrist because they have somebody that's going to, advocate for them. You know what I mean? And then there are people that were, like, against things that I would even say. For instance, people are like, somebody posted something on Facebook. They're like, yeah, this guy was walking around. He was stealing a bucket of chicken. I'm like, so? Steal a bucket of chicken. You're hungry? You should never be hungry in America.
Facts. I believe that too.
Eat your chicken. I don't care. So you're going to sit here, like, I'm watching these, like, different groups, like these Facebook groups, and they'll have a picture of one of my kids or what have you, and I'm going to go all out. I'm going to become a wolf, a vulture, whatever. I'm going to go in those comments. I'm going to knock you right to your feet. You know what I mean? I'm like, so you're sitting here complaining about a bucket of chicken?
Facts.
Really? You have nothing else to do today?
Say nobody
come
got
on
hurt.
Facebook and complain about a kid with a bucket of chicken? You know what I mean? Like, things like that. So I'm like, people get mad at me, or, well, why you, for homeless people, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? You're complaining about the guy sleeping in your doorway? Really? You know what? You have a bed. Tomorrow morning, he's going to wake up and he's going to leave. You know what I mean? And people will be like, he shouldn't be in my room. Like, yeah. I mean, and I get it. And I get why people are going to be, like, against me as far as, like, the things that are going to come out of my mouth about stuff like that. But I don't care.
Taking care of everybody and worrying about everybody else. Like, how do you find time to worry about you?
I know. So that has been a struggle. That's a struggle. I got better for a little bit, and there was a guy that worked at the shelter. His name was Gene, and that's what he would ask me every single day. What'd you do for you today? What'd you do for you today? Every single day. He'd text me, what'd you do for yourself today? And I'd have to text him back. And so I had a year 6 years ago that I'm going to cry, and I don't want to right now. I had, like, a chain of people die in 3 months, and he was, I don't want to cry. So ever since then, I have not been good about it. But he was like the guy that kept me together, you know what I mean? So now it's hard. It's hard. It is.
Well, condolences on your losses.
It was a time, man. It was a time.
I personally feel like, and you're an entrepreneur,
right.
So I don't think people understand. Like, I think they see, like, Instagram and think it's all glitz and glam with being an entrepreneur, and every day you wake up, you gotta, put two and two together. So I think it's personally important, to just carve out some time for yourself. Yeah. So I don't know how you can do that.
I go to the gym. I will say to you that I think the only thing that I do for myself really is I go to the gym. Or I go to the summertime. I did a lot of beach. There was a lot of beach happening this summer. Like, that's what I'll try to do. I'm like, I have 2 hours. I'm just going to go to the beach. You know what I mean? So, like, I'll do stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it was like, I'm not terrible. I'm better. I'm better. There's days, but I'm better.
All right. Now, the 312 Music Awards.
Oh, my God.
Just recently passed not too long ago. And you were a winner.
No, not 312 Awards. I won the, I was nominated at 312 Awards.
Okay.
Did I win? No, I didn't win. It was the Illy Awards. I won the Illy Awards.
Okay.
I won Radio Personality of the Year. I was going to die on a stage.
Okay, the Illy Awards.
None of us love. I don't like a stage, and I made everybody get on the stage with me. I was panicked. No, I was panicked.
Did you already have a speech prepared, or you just
Corey?
went up there and winged it?
So Corey. Shout out to Corey, who didn't make my speech, who was there. So we had this whole, like, VIP section right on this side, and so It was me and Corey and Eddie and all my people, right? Ejil Beats and Floyd and Taco and El Hida and his whole family and like all of these people. Big Boss Damo, like who else was up there? I don't even know. Anyway, so I told all of them, listen, you guys, if I win this, you are all getting on the stage with me. I'm like, Corey, you have my speech? He's like, well, I really? Really? You didn't even make me a speech? So no, I didn't have a speech. So guess what happens? I make them, they all got on stage with me. Thank God. I'm like, come on, let's go away. I make them all, like you see like a million people around me, right? I'm panicking. There were so many people there. I was like sweating. I had to have been because I am just like, I can't handle a stage. And so I did my speech, whatever I said. And so a few days go by and Eddie sends me a video of my speech. I don't even know he had it. I had no idea that he videoed that. I had no idea. And I'm watching this. I'm like, every other word was MF. Every other word I said was MF. I yelled at Corey on stage. What else did I do? I don't even know. Like, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, don't ever post that. Don't ever post that speech. So, yeah, that was crazy. And I won that one, and I won the Ambitious Entertainment, and I won, did I win anything else? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't really care about that stuff.
When you win those things, do you take time to actually celebrate those wins? Oh man. On to the next, huh? I feel like you gotta start celebrating yourself.
And I post it, and after I'm done posting the like honor, I'm on to the next. I've moved on already.
And take a shot of something to celebrate yourself.
Yeah. I don't care. Like it's just like okay.
All right now. Radio host, non-for-profit, manager. I already asked you, how do you balance all of these things? Now you got a night at the Wow here. Like how, like they say, with great power comes great responsibility. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever you want at the Wow here. Mm-hmm. How do you handle that power? Because once again, everybody's throwing showcases in Chicago. Yeah. Y'all at a great location at the Wow here. You know, how do you be like, man, I love this opportunity, but I don't want to abuse it. I actually want to grow it. Like, how do you go about that?
I don't know. Ask ID the G. Shout out ID the G 23 Entertainment.
Shout out, bro.
I just make him do it. He's like, you want me to do that? I'm like, why am I doing that? I don't know, because you're supposed to. That's what you're supposed to do. Nah. I'm really good at making everybody do everything for me. Like, Ejil Beats does the whole show. Like, ID, he's gonna do this part. But I'll brainstorm. Like, I'm the brainstormer. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, what if we did this? They're like, yeah. And then they just add on. Because, like I said, I never stop thinking. So if I could always come up, like, I'm on him right now about what we're going to do for December show. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, I got to remember we got to do that. I'm like, here's my idea. He's like, oh, I like that idea. Like, we just go back and forth. We work I've known him for so long, too. And we've been trying to do shows together for a long, long time. And it just happened to fall in our laps together at the same time when we were there doing a fundraiser show for Stand Up for Kids. I do a Purple Palooza show. So we just happened to be hanging out at the bar afterwards. And the owner was like, I'm like, what else you got? He's like, I'll give you Wednesdays if you want them. And I looked at ID's like, yeah, we're in it now. I'm like, let's do it. We've been talking about this for how long? And he's super professional. I am. Like, you always have to have the right team, the right person. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You go through those pains. You know what I mean? Am I pushing out like, oh, that person doesn't work? Like, I need this person. You know what I mean? And okay, then this person got weird, and now you know what I mean? I'm good at doing my own thing by myself. I stay in my own lane, do my own thing. I'll pull who I need, who I know is solid. I know, and I'll just keep going. You know.
Speak on the importance of having a strong team, and at the same time, like you just said, knowing how to play your own role within that team.
Huge. First of all, you have to be extremely consistent. That is the most important thing. You have to be consistent first, right? So now you're consistent. Now you're going to pull in the right team member that's going to be just as consistent. You know what I mean? Like Stacy, for 5 years, has been my co-host. Consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like nonstop. We didn't miss a beat during COVID. We were spraying you down, Lysol, no entourage in here. Keep your mask on. Come here, I'm going to spray you. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't really spray him down. I wanted to, though. But we're spraying the whole place down. But you know what I mean? Like, you have to be consistent. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's doing the dishes every day at 6 o'clock. That's the time you're supposed to do it. 6 o'clock, you're doing the dishes. Like, consistent with every single thing. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You can't be like, I'm going to do a show once a month, and then I'm not going to do it this month. I'm going to do it next month. It's not going to work like that. You know, we're consistent Wednesdays. We're consistent Wednesdays at Wild Hair. You know, just it's consistent. Now in my brain, I need a team member. Okay, so who's consistent? Who's solid, right? ID solid as hell. You know what I mean? So I know that's going to work automatically, you know? So that's huge to have the right team of people. It just is. And just, it's business. It's not personal. You know what I mean? And I know that gets weird too, right? So then that gets weird. You just got to leave those feelings out. You got to try to figure out how to get rid of those emotions, you know, and tune them out and just work on this. Like, this isn't going to work out for us. I love you, my best friend. I love you to death, but let's just, like, not do this anymore. Like, you have to figure out a way to get rid of that team person that's not working professionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes sense, which is not the easiest thing, and it goes sideways.
Facts.
It does.
All right, this is my favorite question to ask. If you can go back and give your younger self any advice, what would it be?
Dang, somebody else asked me this before. What did I say? What would I say to that? The younger person? I don't know. I can't remember what I said the last time. What would I tell my younger self? Mm-hmm. Just to always stay solid. Just stay solid. Because if you stay solid, all good things happen, you know?
I feel like staying solid nowadays, I'm not going to say it's hard to do, you know, because it's a personal trait.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
it is.
It's so many people out here that's just focus on self. You know what I'm saying? They just try and use people to get to where they need to get to. Yeah. Me personally, if you want to use me, please just tell me you trying to use me. You know what I'm saying? Don't go about it the wrong way.
But I could feel it. You know what I mean? Like, you could feel that. Like, I could feel, if somebody's like using me, I could feel that. I instantly could feel that. I can read you in 2 seconds anyway, so it doesn't even faze me. You know what I mean? Because I'll know exactly what your motive is before you even say. I'll probably know what your motive is before you even know what your motive is half the time. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you definitely need to be a good person as far as stuff like. I see people do that all the time. They'll say, this person did this and this person. Well, you let them. You let them. You knew what was happening the whole time. You can't complain now, you know. It's like saying, like, I have a headache, and you're going to keep complaining until you take aspirin. Stop complaining.
Oh, God.
My daughter's not allowed to complain to me if she has a headache until she's already told me she's had it. Did you have Advil? No, then stop complaining. When you have had Advil and that has not worked in the last 20 minutes, you can come back to me and complain.
Man, I tell people that all the time. What's
Stop
the point of complaining? You
Right,
complain. I don't even want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because now you pissing me off.
Right.
You complaining, but you still going to keep doing the same thing, not to change it.
Lord.
All right, for all the people that want to be they want to get interviewed, they want to be a part of a showcase, you know, how should they go about that?
So really the very best way to get a hold of me is to just DM me on Instagram, which is Determined Radio. Just go there. It's the fastest and the easiest. That's it. And my email's on there as well. It's in our bio. So either email me or DM me. It's easy. Determined Radio.
All right, before we get out of here, you got anything else you want to say to the people?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I would like to shout out some of my people. That's what I would like to say. I would like to shout out all these people that are behind my back.
Do your thing.
People behind me, you know what I mean? I'm just not by myself. So I would love to shout out to Love Child, which is Willie Neal, and E. Joel Beats, and all of those mentors like House and Wild and Gary Pointer and Brian Stenson and Jones and Biko and all you guys here and Pretty Riot and I know I'm going to forget my Corey Ether. I mean, because all of this, none of this, everything, all things Determined Radio is Corey Ether's fault. Good, bad, the ugly, the doesn't matter. I blame everything on Corey Ether. So because, you know, he put me on, you always want to make sure that whoever put you on, I don't care if you never talk to them again, you shout out that person. That's your person no matter what. Even if you're not friends anymore. That person put you on, you are loyal to that person, period. That's just how I am. And I know I'm forgetting people, but they know who they are too.
Yeah,
and Stacy, of course, my girl. Stacy, come on.
Shout out Stacy.
Come on.
That's a part of being solid right there. You know, not throwing no shade. You know, always showing love. Yeah. I want to thank you for, you know,
thank you for having
coming
me.
through, sliding, chopping it up with me. I feel like we had a great conversation.
Yeah, I love this conversation.
When I do my conversation, I don't necessarily do research on people. So I won't go watch an interview or nothing. You know what I'm saying? We just going to have a genuine conversation. Mm-hmm. And you send me your bio, you know, I looked at it, but I ain't look at it because I still want to come in here, you know.
See See, you're my twin Aquarius. That's how it works.
I feel like that helps the conversation flow a little bit more. And I would prefer to be in this conversation, learning about you in the conversation, than going into it already learning about you. So I felt like I learned a lot about you. Well, I didn't know any of this about you, you know, other than Determined Radio and the wild hair, because, you know, ID to G, he hit my line so often.
You guys like grow up together or something, he said?
Nah. The ID, I was a part of a blog. It was called Only for the Real.
Okay.
And I want to say that was like 2012, you know. So I met IDG through the blog, you know what I'm saying? We just been building ever since. Yeah, so shout out to bro. Man, I want to say salute to you. Everything that you do, everything you got going on, you know, it's not easy. And a lot of this shit goes without recognition, you know what I'm saying? So I want to say salute to you. Don't stop, keep going. Shit, a radio station is a whole lot. Trust me, I know we got one back there. Shit ain't easy. And like I say, we come up in Chicago where it's a lot of grateful people in Chicago, but it's a lot of ungrateful people at the same time. So a lot of times we may get discouraged, you know what I'm saying, with everything that we have going on. But it's like you say, it's about staying consistent. So once again, salute to you. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me. So fun.
This has been another episode of Conversations with Jay.